Now, the thrill of extreme sports comes with the test of physical endurance and possible brush with death, both of which are explored in the new Netflix documentary The Deepest Breath, which focuses on competitive freediving and the latest endeavour of Alessia Zecchini, the world record holder for depth achieved in a single breath with a dive of 104 metres. It highlights the thrills and risks of deep diving, as well as the bond between the freediver and their accompanying safety diver. Well, Edinburgh couple Samantha Rendall and Jack Blom can not only relate to that dependence as diving partners, but they have also recently spent 10 months at the Blue Hole near Dahab, Egypt, the location where the documentary is primarily set. They've watched the documentary, as I have, and they are in the studio with me now. Good morning. Welcome to you both.
Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Okay, let's get right into it, because it was some documentary, wasn't it?
It was.
But I'd like to kind of backtrack, Samantha, because it seems once you become connected to water sports like scuba diving and open water swimming, it almost becomes spiritual, doesn't it? I'm interested to know what draws you to the water, and how did free diving, if you like, deepen the experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, so it was a few years ago now. I think 2016 I started scuba diving, and I'd heard about free diving, always wanted to try it. And eventually I plucked up the courage to get myself a course. And the first few times I tried it, it was terrifying. Your instructor says go down. It was only 6 meters, and you're looking down going, that's 3 times the height of me.
Yeah.
And then eventually you go, oh, it's okay, it's not so bad. Maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we'll try 8. And so it goes. And you keep going. And eventually we went to Egypt. And that's really when it cemented our kind of feelings toward freediving. We were freediving 3-4 times a week. And you get deeper and deeper. And it's beautiful. You relax completely. You forget everything that's going on in the world. You're right there, present. And it's the only thing that matters.
My goodness, you're painting such an incredible picture for me. You know, we think of freediving as a physical exertion, Jack, but in the documentary, it shows to be more about kind of mental endurance, does it? You know, how do you prepare your mind to be in such a meditative state for a free dive, Jack?
Yeah, it's definitely a mental sport. I think a lot of sports are, but with freediving, it's really about that relaxation. If you can't relax, you're not going to have a good dive. And that's something that just comes with practice, I think. So you can do some sort of meditation at home, practicing before going to the water. And then people just have different approaches. You'll see some people will be chatting with their friends right up until the dive, just trying to keep their mind off it. Other people will be really in the zone. They don't want to be disturbed at all up until going for the dive. A lot of the relaxation comes with going for something that you know you can do. You're not progressing to do something that's a big jump. You're always just a little increment at a time, and you know, okay, I've done that before, it's just a little bit further, and it's really just about practice and repeating.
Samantha, explain to us what free immersion is, and once you reach the designated depth, what's the experience like?
So free immersion is one of the free diving disciplines. So there's a number of different ones. It's a depth one. So this involves pulling up and down the rope. You don't have any fins on. So you'll see in the movie, you start by pulling down the rope to maybe 20, 30 meters, and then you begin your free fall. And this is when you're letting the sea just kind of pull you down.
Is the pressure pushing you down a bit?
The buoyancy just, you're negative at that point, so you fall. Mm-hmm. And it's like flying. Mm-hmm. Generally, you're moving about a meter per second. You're not moving at all. Completely relaxed, almost just having a little sleep until you reach your designated depth. You turn, and then you start your journey back up, and you pull all the way back up. That's when the hard work begins.
Because that's exertion, and you're not breathing.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be a good idea at
that
point.
No, it sure wouldn't. I mean, the documentary kind of blew my mind. You know, I was almost holding my breath through it, the whole thing. And we talk about Alessia Zecchini, mm-hmm. who Jack, she did 104 metres. You see in the documentary, she's following her Japanese rival who does 103 and she does 104. What kind of physical and mental endurance is needed to be able to achieve that? It's beyond human almost.
Yeah, it's incredible. It seems from the outside, if you take away the breath hold, it's a very minimal amount of work that we're doing. You're kind of floating on the surface and you're moving less than 200 meters because she's free falling for a lot of it. But because we're not breathing, your body isn't able to offload that waste product. So we'll produce CO2, we'll produce lactic, and that all gets stored in your muscles and it can't get out anywhere. So the level of intensity for the exercise is as similar as if you're doing something far more exertive. You could be lifting heavy weights and it would feel very similar to free immersion.
Wow. The experience, clearly it's all-encompassing for you both, and I can see it's perhaps addictive too. How does the experience change your life's perspective, Samantha? You've been in Egypt. Is the pool there to go back?
Oh, goodness. Well, yes, I think last year our plan was go to Egypt, enjoy diving, maybe travel around a bit. But we got completely drawn into Dahab. We have many friends there. We have almost like another family there. The community there is incredible. The freedivers everywhere. You're completely immersed. And yeah, I think eventually this is going to be our plan is we're going to have to move there and follow our dreams, give up everything we know here and really explore where we can go with freediving. I think for me, I love being under the water, taking pictures and really just relaxing and enjoying every moment of the dive. I don't think I will ever push for world records, but Jack is...
Oh, maybe not world records, but...
You'd like to push the boundaries.
I enjoy the process of the training, the gradually finding out what I'm capable of. What I've achieved in the last year was far beyond what I thought I'd ever get to when I first started, and it was comfortable. I'd like to see where you can go.
Okay, and with that, of course, it becomes risks. This is a dangerous sport, as many sports are. Yeah. You've talked to me about good dives. Jack, what's a bad dive like?
So a bad dive would generally involve a blackout, which is covered quite intensively in the film.
Yes,
and a blackout is where your brain is no longer able to get enough oxygen. So in normal everyday processes, we're using oxygen to create energy for our muscles, for our organs. The most important thing that needs oxygen is our brain. So when we're diving, the body will prioritize the brain. So that's why your muscles start getting less oxygen and they'll start to feel heavy. But at a certain point, it's not even got enough oxygen for your brain. And then it'll go into an emergency sort of shutdown. And that's what a blackout is. So
How can you black out underwater and not drown, though?
So there's a muscle, your larynx in your throat, and it has what's called a laryngospasm. And this is where it sort of clamps shut. And at this point, it will normally clamp shut for 2 to 3 minutes. So you have time for your safety diver to get you to the surface. So it's extremely important to always dive with a qualified buddy. If you're not diving with a buddy and you have a blackout, there's a good chance you're never going to surface.
Yeah. And that's not sugar-coated in the documentary. We see that a lot, with Alessia Zecchini and Steve Keenan, who was her safety diver. And this all happened in Egypt. I don't think we'll give any spoilers to people that haven't watched the documentary, but it is utterly, utterly compelling.
Yeah.
The documentary, as we've mentioned, focuses on the arc at the Blue Hole in Egypt, where Alessia is attempting her latest dive, which you have both experienced. Samantha, what's the fascination with the Blue Hole and the arc, and why is it so dangerous?
So the Blue Hole itself is not dangerous in terms of currents or any other sort of physical thing. However, it's the arch.
Sorry, the arch.
No,
yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So the arch and Blue Hole. So it's the Blue Hole itself is a sinkhole, and the arch is sort of a tunnel between the Blue Hole and the open ocean. The top of the arch starts around 52 meters, so it's very deep. But the lure of the arch, it's beautiful when you see it. For me, I saw it. It was a bit scary. For me, I know what can happen there. When you're down there, there's no reference for how far away something is. So it looks very close and people can think, oh, I'll just go there. This can be where the dangers
And
come
several
in.
divers have lost their lives.
They have.
There, you go down this hole, you come through the arch and come out into the open sea. Just briefly, what's it like to be back in Scottish waters again?
We were diving yesterday and it's dark and cold. But it's nice. This is where we both started. It's nice to come back in and revisit that. And definitely there's things to see out there.
Well, we wish you well in all your endeavours, and maybe you'll come back and speak to us again after another spell in
Yeah,
Egypt.
of course.
Thank you both for joining me. That's Jack Blom and Samantha Rendall. And The Deepest Breath is currently streaming on Netflix. The opening sequence is incredible. And if you pardon the pun, it's utterly breathtaking. Well, you're listening to Radio Scotland with me, Tony Kearney. If you've missed anything on the show, you can catch up using the BBC Sounds app. And remember, you can get in touch with us at the station on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at BBC Radio Scot.